Okay, so this video is gonna be a little different to others. I'll be talking about movies I saw in theaters this year. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. This is one of those movies I went out of my way to watch out of boredom. I had no knowledge of Vampire Hunter D before watching it. I think it's actually based on a novel, if I'm correct. This is for the 40th anniversary, I believe, and it was actually pretty solid. It's a bit basic, but there's nothing wrong with that. I thought D himself was an actual compelling character, being a vampire, which is a half human, half vampire. The animation for its time is solid. There's some parts where it was fluid actually, but most of it was pretty average. But speaking of animation, the sequel that came out in the 2000s looks incredible. I've seen a couple clips and it looks amazing. I'm gonna watch that one day, I think. This is definitely one of those things that I think like kind of influenced the whole genre, or at least a lot of aspects of it. But for me personally, I'm not really too familiar with vampire media to actually comment on that in any significant way. It's important to the history of dark anime movies, and it was a pretty solid watch, honestly. I will watch the sequel one day, so I'll give it a solid 6 out of 10. Okay, I went to go see this with my sister, unlike Vampire Hunter. I am actually familiar with Monty Python. I watched this movie a year earlier, and I still really enjoyed it a lot. It was a fun movie. I think it was really creative with the whole concept of the movie. You know how God is telling Arthur to find the Holy Grail, while also having animated sequences and having the side of the plot, and modern day-ish for the time. The cops trying to arrest him. Yeah, this movie is like really immature in a good way. I think the jokes still land well even after 50 years. I'm a big fan of physical comedy in movies. And yeah, if you haven't watched Monty Python and you like comedies, I highly recommend it. There's so many iconic gags in here, and I think you'll enjoy it. I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. I went to go see this with my cousins for my birthday, and it was really good. It was good. Now, I was excited for this movie because I was looking forward to the new DCU. I like James Gunn. I'm a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I've heard the Suicide Squad movie is good. So, I thought it was promising. I was indifferent towards the Snyderverse. I can respect what he wanted to do with his version of Superman, but I don't think his version of Superman really fits the character, and I think it was necessary to reset the universe, not gonna lie. With that being said, I finally understood the hype around Superman, and how much of a good guy he really is. I was just smiling and rooting for him, and I think this movie did a good job in portraying Superman and strength. The things he's able to do in this movie is actually insane. He truly felt invincible, but this thing still felt real, you know what I mean? Speaking of characters, I thought Lex Luthor was equally amazing. How petty he is towards Superman is like really entertaining and amazing. You don't need some super complex backstory as to why he hates Superman. All you need to know is he hates Superman. He really hates Superman, and you know what? That's fine with me. I will be watching Supergirl next year, and I am very excited for the future of the DCU. I give Superman 8 out of 10. Okay, I'm gonna do these next ones a little unscripted, but Fantastic Four, as time passes by, I just kind of feel less and less positive towards the movie. Like, it's pretty decent, especially for like post Endgame MCU stuff. It's been like kind of mid-average, and sadly, I think this movie falls into the mid category. This was the first movie I ever saw in IMAX, so that was a good experience, especially when when the CGI was actually good in certain portions. It was actually really amazing. But that's the thing, it's really inconsistent. The worst part about this movie is that fuck ass CGI baby. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Franklin. Look, I like the plot's mildly interesting. Like, there's no one really stood out to me besides the Human Torch. I think he was actually the best character in the movie, but I think like some characters were pretty underutilized. Like Thing, for example, he like barely has any presence in this movie. One thing I like about the movie is I guess like world building. Like, it taking place in the 60s. I think that's interesting, at least for an MCU movie, but it's kind of just like a like a coat of paint. It doesn't really add too much. It still kind of feels like an MCU movie. I'm glad they didn't do any like pop culture shit. I'm glad there wasn't any scenes that were like, oh my god, it's the 60s, let's listen to the Beatles, that type of shit. So I'm glad there was none of that. But the movie's kind of mediocre. I give it a 6 out of 10. Grave of Fireflies is my first ever Ghibli movie that I've seen. Ghibli movies have such a really good reputation in like in the movie community and in like in anime movies, and honestly this movie is a masterpiece. um you know I'm not afraid to admit it, bro. Like, I saw this in theaters and I cried, man, at the end of it. It's really sad, it's really powerful. And I think it helps because I saw it in Japanese. I saw it in the original language, so I think it just hit me that much more. I have since rewatched it and it's still really, really good. Yeah, man, masterpiece. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's definitely like a really good Ghibli movie to start off my Ghibli journey with, I guess. And yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10. Go watch. Demon Slayer for me is under the same categories like Fantastic Four. Like, the more time passes by, the more probably not that high on it anymore. It's probably recency biased. I did actually make a video on it, which is like one of the very few uploads I made this year. But yeah, Demon Slayer, I don't know, man. It's really incomplete. And obviously, I know it's like a part one. There's gonna be a whole trilogy, but honest, it doesn't really feel like a movie, if that makes any sense. It kind of just feels like a bunch of anime episodes compiled. Don't get me wrong, the animation's incredible and stuff like that, and I think the music was really good, and it was really hype for the time, honestly. But the more I look back on it, the more I kind of, a lot of character development feel like kind of mid. Akasa's backstory is the best part of the movie, obviously, but like looking at back like Zenitsu versus Kaigaku, it was like no real build up to that. It was just kind of like the most we get is just like Zenitsu opening like a letter and like locking in randomly, changing his whole character. Like the character development like completely happened off screen, stuff like that. It's not bad. I will still watch the other movies, and I have since read the manga. It's solid, I guess. I give it a 7 out of 10. Now, Grave of Fireflies was my first Ghibli movie, but this is my first Miyazaki movie, and it's a masterpiece. Yeah, I love this movie a lot, man. The music is absolutely incredible. It's, I think, one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, which is kind of interesting because if you listen to it, most of it's kind of like the same song, but it's really, really incredible. I think the visuals are really incredible. I watched this in dub, actually, and the cast did amazing. I didn't even know Christian Bale was in this movie until like afterwards, playing Howl. And yeah, man, this movie is just so lovely, so pretty to look at. I love Howl and the girl's like relationship, and I think it's just like really good. I love this movie so much. Another masterpiece. Go watch it if you haven't already. I give it a 9 out of 10. Squared, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Spider-Man. This was part of like a weekend where you showed like all the original trilogy. I only saw the first one with my sister again, and I love this movie to this day. This is the most nostalgic movie for me. I've grown up on this movie. I've watched it like several times, and it's still so amazing to me. Sam Raimi is an incredible director, and like looking at this movie, and then I look back on Fantastic Four and like Superman, and I'm like, damn, superhero movies were like elite back then. Like, holy shit, bro, this movie's incredible. Only regrets I didn't see Spider-Man 2 in theaters, but yeah, this is amazing. Go watch it. Sam Raimi, Spider-Man, everyone loves this movie. I love this movie to this day. Amazing. And yeah, 8 out of 10. Now, Perfect Blue, I've never seen before. And this movie was like really interesting to me. And yeah, this movie is a banger. Like, I love this movie a lot. It's like one of the most disturbing movies I've seen in a while. It made me go like, what the fuck, like several times in my mind in the theaters, especially with the ending. Yeah, this movie is incredible. The music is like incredible. I think like the storytelling is amazing, honestly. Like, you just like follow the stalker, stalking this like pop star that became an actress and all that. And I think the visuals in this movie is like really incredible. I know the director of this movie has made like other works and stuff like that. Rest in peace, I think he died. And I will be checking out his other works. This movie is a banger. It's amazing. Go watch it. I'm not really going to spoil anything. And yeah, go watch it. 10 out of 10. Now, this is my first hot take of the video. I didn't really love this movie the same way I kind of wanted to going in. Prior to this, I've obviously already said like my only experience is Grave and like Howls, and so this would be my second Miyazaki movie. But this is the Ghibli movie. Like, every time I see Ghibli being brought up, or like best anime movies of all time, it's always Spirited Away. It's like always like near the top, or always top one. And I kind of had like really, really high expectations. Don't get me wrong, the movie's still amazing. It's still an amazing movie. I just didn't really like love it the same way I wanted to. Like, I loved the Howl's Moving Castle. It didn't move me the same way a Grave of Fireflies moved me. maybe it's because I don't really relate to the main character as much. I mean, a little child, you know, I don't really relate to it. There's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, these movies are all family friendly, but I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe it's because my expectations were like so high. So I expected like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, but I got like an 8 out of 10 or like a 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? I hope I'm not the only one that feels this way. I don't want to call it overrated because I still really enjoyed the experience in the theater. It's still really amazing. The music is still really amazing. The animation's amazing. Talk Ghibli movies. I'm guessing like most of them have like amazing animation. Yeah, this is pretty much like Japanese Coco for me. I'm not gonna lie. If you've seen Coco, you're probably gonna understand most of the general premise of this movie. And yeah, it's still solid. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but I'll still give it like an 8 out of 10. Chainsaw Man. Oh my god, this was the movie I was excited for this year. I love it. Early Chainsaw Man. And I even love Chainsaw Man now. The Resident Arc, this movie was incredible. This was like a perfect adaptation. This is up there with my movie of the year. This movie is amazing. I'm so tempted to call it a masterpiece, but it's like really good. I think this is a perfect adaptation of the manga. This is like, if you read the Resident Arc, this is perfect. I don't know how else to explain to you. It's perfect adaptation of Chainsaw Man. I think a lot of scenes were elevated because of this movie. For example, the pool scene, that's the one everyone talks about. I think the movie's out on digital now. I think I might be able to use clips from it. This movie's incredible. The animation's incredible. The pacing is amazing. The fights are incredible. Only problem, I mentioned it in my one video, is probably the animation could be a little much at sometimes, like pretty hard to tell what's going on. But for me personally, I have no issue with it. I will rewatch this movie one day. It's amazing. It's a banger. If you love Chainsaw Man, you're gonna love this movie. If you love Chainsaw Man, I don't know why you didn't see this movie yet, but it's out on digital. You can see it now. I give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, as of the time of me recording this is probably my last movie of the year. Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. Oh my god, man. I love Kill Bill. I saw the movies like last year. It was really amazing. I like how over the top the action is and stuff like that, and it's just amazing direction. Tarantino's an incredible director, probably not a good person, but yeah, I enjoyed it. This was my first ever like experience of like a 4-hour movie, and honestly, it didn't feel like 4 hours. I feel like it could have gone on longer. It was really enjoyable. I really loved it, every second of it. There's the Fortnite short that does play at the end, but it didn't take away anything. It's just kind of amusing to see on a big screen. What to talk about this movie? Well, the acting is incredible. The action's incredible. I think they did expand upon like Oraine's like backstory, which was really interesting. This movie wasn't. It's both Kill Bill movies. Have you seen both Kill Bill movies? You've seen this movie, but I think the way it like flows in together is like so perfectly, because I think the intention behind Kill Bill was always to be like a 4-hour epic. So this is pretty much the perfect way to watch Kill Bill. Even at intermission, so I didn't really feel like it was 4 hours long. It's amazing. Go watch it. Or at least watch the original Kill Bill movies. I think this is personally my favorite movie of the year, which is interesting considering it's a movie from like 20 years ago. But this is my movie of the year. I'm calling it now. Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. And yeah, amazing movie. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know if I'll see any other movies this year, and I'll probably like intersect this part, like before this plays, I'll probably like add like another movie I talked about or whatever that I've seen. But I think I'm pretty confident this is like my movies. I've seen this here in theaters. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Go follow me on Twitter. I do plan on relaunching the Discord server, so you can probably join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. This movie was this video is like more like chilled. I don't really want to do a lot of editing for this video, not a lot of research. It's just me talking about movies I saw this year. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, and I think I forgot to give my rating on Kill Bill, so I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Amazing masterpiece banger. It's on my Letterboxd like top 4. And yeah, go follow me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and I'll see you guys next year. Peace.